Cheers. Hello, welcome to a special edition collaboration with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Shorty of Shorty's SuperCoach. How are you, Shorty?
Good, fellas. What's going on? Finally get this up and running. Beautiful.
Yes.
It's been a while. It's it's the first time, but I mean, it's a long
while in the
time.
making.
Yeah, a long time in the making. Liam, there's been a guy, and you would have seen it as well, Shorty, but there's been a guy, what was his name? Jonas, maybe?
Jonas, yeah.
I want to say Jonas. I'd hate to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure he has been the man who has driven this collab.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been almost like matchmaking. He's been like going to us. When are you guys collaborating with Shorty? He's going to you. He's kind of like just trying to pair us, almost like perfect match, like back to back, and then turn around and is it love at first sight? Maybe it is. He's done it. We're together. It's married at first sight. It's SuperCoach at first sight here. Yeah. But pleasure to have you on, Shorty. Thanks for joining us.
You.
Now, for those people who aren't across the awesome work that you do already on not only YouTube, but I've seen your stuff on TikTok. Love that. Really interactive and very jealous at the stuff you do as well because really good. I love it. Really interactive.
Oh, thanks.
But for those of you who aren't familiar with your work, just give us a little bit of a background, how you fell in love, I guess the love-hate relationship, as we always call it, with SuperCoach. But when you first jumped into it and, obviously a plug for your own channel and give yourself a bit of a wrap.
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks, mate. It was probably 6 or 7 years back now, I reckon. Just obviously always loved my SuperCoach and just thought, gee, I might just talk a bit about this and put the recorder on and, started back in the podcast days and then build it up to video. And yeah, here we are doing collaborations and go live each week, taking questions and that type of thing. So yeah, it's great fun and, it's an awesome community these days. I mean, like you guys and a bunch of other people as well. Like I remember in the early days that there weren't too many others that sort of did it and it's grown into a great community and it's cool to do this sort of stuff. So yeah, it's going well. Well,
before we delve into things, Liam, do you have anything to pick the brain of Shorty? We've got a few questions that viewers and listeners alike have sent in, but is there anything you want to pick the brain of Shorty before we get underway?
No, not yet. I reckon let's get into the questions and then we can throw some curly ones later.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I'll hand the baton over to you, Liam, so you can kick us off with the first question. And of course, this is the segment that we like to call Liam. We'll do it collectively, and don't be scared by this, Shorty, because it is a bit of a on SuperCoach Edge. We reference a lot of pop culture stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of Simpsons references. Yeah. And this is a reference to Dirty Harry. I don't know if you've seen it. It's an older movie. Clint Eastwood. The scene, I think it's in the first Dirty Harry, where he shoots a robber and he's got the Magnum and it only holds 6 bullets. Anybody as well if you want, but it is titled I got to know. Very good. We've converted you. You're on board. You're one of us now.
I saw this come up the other day. I don't know if it was on Twitter or TikTok or something, but I was like, I would love some context around this, so I appreciate that.
I'm glad because I'm sure there's many people out there, like younger listeners and viewers as well, probably aren't across the old shoot 'em up, Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry. So that's kind of what it is. But for anyone else out there that still has no idea what we're talking about, go to YouTube and type in Dirty Harry. I got to know, or do you feel lucky punk? And you'll see it's a famous scene, one of the most famous scenes in Hollywood. So I checked it out. But we've, I think I randomly come up with it one episode and we've run with it since because I'm an absolute lunatic with the way my mind works, pop culture references, and Liam as well has jumped on board and he keeps me in line most of the time. So that's part of the reason why I've got him here.
I love it.
But let's delve into the segment. It is, of course, Q&A. So, Liam, I'll hand it over to you to kick us off with the first question.
Yep. So we put this out to the Twitter community, SuperCoach Edge community, and asked them if they have any burning questions. And first up, we've got this question from Frio Tragic at Smasher Bondi. And he asks, thoughts on Rochelle and Chase Jones as pod mid-priced options. The Crows are flying and you have a very easy fixture. Too late for stepping stone types. Can Rochelle hold down F6, getting more CBAs, and then Goulden? Thanks, David. What are your thoughts?
Very good. I like how you've gone back and forth here. He's thrown me in the deep end. Chase Jones, I actually don't mind Chase Jones. He's taken the next step in his game, which is pleasing to see for himself and obviously Crows fans as well. Rochelle, both of those guys, I think they're both virtually at awkward price points. Like Rochelle is 382.9K, Chase Jones 308.3K. Chase Jones is averaging 81, Rochelle 89.4. Their scoring. I mean, apart from like in Chase Jones's case, he scored a 34, then a 93 and 116 on the weekend. That sample size, is there enough to suggest that he can continue on? Maybe not. And then Rochelle, he's gone all right. Like he's taken his game to another level, 116, 70, 95, 71 and a 95. He's averaging 43% CBAs, which is pleasing to see. I think in short, you're virtually going to have to sacrifice another mid-pricer in order to bring them in, like maybe a Setterfield maybe, but I don't like trading someone like a Setterfield down to that, like from one mid-pricer to another mid-pricer. Cash cow to cash cow you can justify because they're going to be making more coin. And as we know, like at that higher price point, the player has to average more in order to bank more cash and generate more cash. So I think on that point, I'll be bypassing both of those guys, but they have piqued my interest for sure. But in short, that's a no from me. But what about you, Liam?
Yeah, I agree with both. And I think I think it is a bit too late for those stepping stone types, as you kind of referenced there. Awkward price points. It's hard to bring them in. But also, I think this other question was kind of about, can Rochelle hold down F6? I mean, with his current scoring, averaging 89.4, it's not going to be good enough, I don't think, for an F6. Probably maybe an F7, but even then, I don't think you'd want to be paying up for that now. I probably would, it's a no for me for both at this stage. I don't think they've got the scoring in them to be keepers and the awkward price point. It's going to make it hard to get them in.
Yep. What about you, Shorty?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you boys. Pretty much reiterating your thoughts there. There's probably not enough meat on the bone for either of them. And
I love that.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, they're going well, but gee, they'd make me nervous if I took the plunge. I just, happy to watch on. Both exciting players, and Jones is seemingly finally finding some stability at AFL level, which is cool for him. And Rochelle will excite us and probably be in our teams down the track, but happy to just watch from afar for me.
Yep, I totally agree there. Well, thanks for that question, Frio Tragic. And let's move on to the next, and it has been sent in by Ben Bailey at Ben Bailey 14, and he asks, and it's one that's kind of it's subjective, comes down to how much cash you got in the bank, but it is a bit of a tricky one, a hairy one. It is Clary a must-have right now, or should I wait for his price to go down and then get him? I think first up, for me, I'd love to have him in my team. I don't have him. Stupidly didn't start him. I started Laird instead. Looked as though, as we touched on in our full episode proper for this week, Liam and I, we ran through the fact that Setterfield was doing an absolute number on Clary, and looked as though he was going to finally put out a bit of a shit score and plunge down in price, but wasn't to be. The pink sweaty pig, as we like to refer to Clary as, absolutely just pigged it up. Just a snout in the trough and just absolutely went to town. So I think for me, I'm going to be waiting for his price to go down and just fingers crossed, hoping that it's going to happen. But when is it going to happen? That's one of those things. It's hard to see. So for me, I'm going to be waiting. But what about you, Liam? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't think I can afford him right now.
Yeah.
I probably need someone like Laird to have to. I need to like sacrifice someone like that, and there's no point doing something like that. I think at his price, it's just hard. So I'm just trying to get up his run for the rest of the year to see whether I think he's going to get any come down in price at all. Obviously, faces Richmond next round. Could be he scores pretty well against them. North will be the big concern, and then Gold Coast after that. So 3 weeks probably of good scoring. Then plays Hawthorn, Port, Freo. Yeah, I don't know whether it's coming down in price. Maybe it is worth getting him now. No, I think probably worth waiting at this stage. Is just a smidge under 700k, only 1.3k under his starting price. I think you're probably going to have to wait to get him in. Otherwise, you're really going to have to sell the farm to get him.
Yeah. What about yourself, Shorty?
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Is enough meat in the bone there for you? I love it. I must say, that's one of my favorite sayings of yours. I've tuned into your stuff before, and I love it. That's one of the catchphrases that really sticks out. I love it.
Love it, mate. Look, I mean, it's one of those ones where I think if you don't have him, you wish you did, but it's so hard to get him at this point, and there's no guarantees he drops much further than 650. But I feel like at this early stage of the year, you're better off probably, because if you're going to do that trade from like a Setterfield or a Hopper in a few weeks or something, like you're probably sacrificing like 250k. Like it's a lot of coin for a guy that we need, but I feel like maybe upgrading elsewhere in this early stage of the season, just beef that team up a bit more. Even though it hurts. I mean, we've all had those. I mean, I'm looking at Jordan Dawson right now going, man, when is this guy going to chill out? But I think we might just have to wait and pray that maybe a McGuinness or someone random just goes defensive on Clary and keep him to even something in the early hundreds would be handy for non-Clary owners. Yeah.
Absolutely. The big pig. I'm missing that sweet taste of the bacon that we had last year. I think we traded him in about a quarter of the way through the season from memory. Yeah. He had a down game and he finally dropped. So surely it's going to happen again, but surely he's not going to go up much further in price. Like he's hit the cap. Like all it's going to take is for like a sub almost at the moment. Like his break even has risen up to, 150?
168.
168. So it goes to show that he only needs that game just a smidge above or around about the 100 mark to really come down. So if he has another consecutive game like that, like he did last weekend, you'll start to plunge. So just keep that in mind. I think for those out there that are licking their chops and craving the taste of sweet bacon. So keep eye on that. But let's move on to the next question. It has been sent in by AFL SuperCoach Masters. At AFL SuperCoach Masters, the boys over there produce some quality content, much like yourself, Shorty. And they ask, hey, Mad Dogs, what's your guess on Clary's average for the next two games versus Richmond and North? My spidey sense is saying 145 average. So, Liam, I'll throw this across to you first up.
Yeah, I don't know. Two game average is also hard. Not much. If he scores 100 against Richmond and 170 against North, I mean, what's that? I don't know. But Richmond, I reckon about 140. I'm going to go 140. I feel like 145 is a bit high. But 140, I don't know. The five points feels more cheap.
I think for me, I'm gonna go optimistically a little bit lower, but not too low. I want to say 130. I think you'll have a big game against North and a so-so game against Richmond. A lot of people are hoping that, or for owners anyway, that he has a big score against both those teams. But I think for some reason, even though Richmond don't really put too much time and effort into quelling any of the opposition's best midfielders, I think he might have a little bit of a downer game, and I reckon it might be a bit of a to and froing type game because Richmond are under the pump, so they need to get a win on the board. But Shorty, what are your thoughts here?
Oh, he's right in the middle, boys. 135.
Oh, nice. I like that. Diplomatic.
Yeah. It's always pretty tough to say, isn't it? I mean, it's funny, like sometimes the best players beat up on weaker teams and sometimes they play even better against good teams because they rise to the occasion. So I don't know have North been tagging much? I mean, there's a few defensively minded guys in the team, but I don't recall an out-and-out tag. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think there has been from memory. There was nothing like, I'm just thinking about against my mob in Carlton. There wasn't anyone that they put any time and effort into. So maybe not. So it could be just the
not
pig
many
off the
do
leash.
these days. Yeah, there's not many around these days. Yeah, back
that
when
being
we used
said, No, I was going to say, that being said, looking at his scores against North, his last three, 178, 116 and 137. So
Jesus. All right, I'll change to 150. Oh boy. All right.
Very nice.
I like that.
Classic. Well, Liam, I'll jump across to the next question, and you can dive into this.
From Ryan at WenDT11_SC. He asks, what are your thoughts on Hawkins as a cheap buy at the minute? With plenty of trades in the bank, is it worth the risk of the odd 35 or hold firm for Oliver and co when they drop? Should add if we already have the main 5 forwards. I'm going to throw that one to you, Damon.
Oh, geez, you got me again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I haven't actually even thought of the big Tomahawk at all. He's priced at 430.2K. He's averaging 80. His scores have been thereabouts and so, and probably in line with what he's referenced there, Ryan, in terms of having the odd 35, because he's had 75, 47, 23, 104, and a 151 on the weekend, and a break-even of -6. So for me, I'd probably opt, if I was going to go for a tall forward, I mean, traditionally it's been fraught with danger going for key position players in general, but key position forwards as well. But I would be going for his teammate in Jesse Cameron, I think, if anyone. Just the way that he's got the ability to work up the ground, whereas Hawkins is more of a stay-at-home forward. Shorty, you're licking your chops about this as well, being a Cats man as well. But I think for me, I'd be looking elsewhere at this stage. Good price nonetheless. SuperCoach Mama as well, who is also a resident cat. She is actually looking to bring Hawk in as a bit of a pod. But for me, I'd be looking elsewhere. I'd rather go for someone like Cogs, who I haven't got on my side yet, at that similar sort of. It's a little bit more expensive than Hawkins, but he's got that scoring consistency behind him, and especially playing in that favourable role without Leon Cameron as the head coach there. He's actually getting consistent time in the midfield. So for me, I'd be going for Cogs ahead of someone like Hawkins and spending a little bit more, I think, in this case. But what about yourself, Liam?
Yeah, agreed. Looking at his run next 3 rounds, plays Sydney, doesn't have a great average against them. I think it's his 7th worst. Recent scores 33, 65, 57. Then plays the Dons, who he absolutely froths playing against. 148, 108, and 173 in his last 3. So there's potential for a big score there. And then Adelaide, who is worst average against of any team, with 81, 57, and 101. So in his most recent 3. So yeah, I'd probably not. I don't like big forwards as options. I think you're right. If I was going to go for someone, probably Jesse Cameron. But at a similar price point, I'd probably looking at a Jay-Z if you don't have him, or a Cogs as well, who's 55K more expensive and could be even cheaper after this round. I probably would, be avoiding Tomahawk for mine. What about you, Shorty?
Yeah. Look, at the risk of just continually agreeing with you boys, I'm right there with you once more. I mean,
very nice.
I think key forwards, like we've touched on, you only really ever think about them if they're in the prime of their career, best form, like Franklin, Nick Rewald vibes, and probably Jezza Cameron right now. He looks at the peak of his powers. But Tommy Boy, it's a no thanks from me. He's probably in that category of a guy that, he'll be managed at times. He'll even be managed within game. And I don't think it means as much to him to win the Coleman he just wants to be ready when the whips are cracking. So I don't really see him as a guy that we need to lash out for and get into our sides. A bit risky for mine. Yep.
No, that totally makes sense. And good to see you're on the same page as us. And we will promise, we haven't got like a hitman there off screen with a gun. Like, you must agree with what we're saying.
Just slightly.
That's it. Big smile. Everybody's happy.
Classic. Well, the next question we have sent in by I Should Coco with the username.
Like the coldest winter chill. I like it.
Interesting. Poet. Like almost like a poet there.
Yeah, very poetic.
Yeah, very philosophical. Too philosophical for SuperCoach. But they ask, Swan Matt Roberts is currently the highest most traded in player this week. Do you think he'll play many games? Well, I think we're probably all on the same page here, safe to say. Unless, Shorty, you have a bit of a direct line to John Horse Longmire as to the way things are going to play. Oh, there we go. You got him on the phone.
If only, eh? If only.
Yeah, that would definitely help us out. But in terms of knowing how many games he's going to play, we have absolutely no idea. I mean, it's hard enough to say because he started sub for a few of the games already. Was his first real crack in the starting 22 on the weekend and looked good. So off the back of that, you can maybe say that maybe that persists at the very least, but it's hard to know. I mean, it's a complete stab in the dark here, but considering that a lot of people are trading him in as well, use that as a bit of a safety net to an extent as well. But I think given how he scored on the weekend, you'd be silly to pass that up, knowing that's his scoring sort of range that he can hit and be a solid cash cow. So we touched on it in our full episode in terms of the heights that he could reach, and we think that he is definitely one to look at. So that's pretty much where I sit. I don't know if you boys have anything different to add or. Yeah.
No, I think that's fair call. I feel like it's one you want to really just try and tune into Horse's press conference later in the week, just see if there's a little jam or any sort of indication. But no, if I had a line to Johnny Boy, Isaac Henny would have been playing midfield many years ago because it burnt me that many times. Oh, Jesus.
You'd be cracking the whip. might see you on the broadcast. They cut to the coach's box, and there you are with a gun to the back to Horse Longmire. Make sure you put Heaney into the midfield.
Get him in there. No, goodness me.
Classic. Liam, any other thoughts? Any gems of wisdom that you can provide?
No gems. I also am not on the Sydney selection panel, unfortunately. So nothing from me. I know.
Very nice.
No, nothing. Look, I'm going to throw a question out here. If you're looking at who you would be trading in as a rookie this week as a downgrade option, obviously Matt Roberts, Dylan Williams, what's his name from Matt Johnson. Who would you be looking at? Like, who would be your highest priority, I guess? Sort of question without notice. Sorry, guys.
No, that's all right. I'd quite like to look at Dylan Williams, to be honest. Look, wouldn't know him if I walked past him in the street, but I love the left boot on him, and Port don't have many on that injury list at all. I think last time I checked, it was Fantasia, and
it was just Fantasia.
I feel like he's found a reasonable role, and I think he could be a guy that scores consistent 60s and 70s. I'm certainly hoping, because I'm feeling like he might come into my team, and but. Yeah, they all come with that, risk where we just get so concerned whether they could be dropped next minute. They are not exactly top end cash cows, but they could surprise us. So at this point in time, we probably got to snap them up and just hope, because there's not stacks floating around.
No, exactly right. Yeah, I think with me, I'm going to be bringing in Matt Roberts first and foremost, and then looking at Matt Johnson, just because, I mean, he was kind of talked up in the preseason as well, and showed a bit of what he could produce as well in the preseason game and practice game, and all reports were that he was gunning for a starting 22 spot, and I don't know, maybe this is a way that that Longmuir has eased him into senior footy, but I've still got some raps on him. I think he'll be all right. He scored all right on the weekend. Limited game time. I think he only had about 65% time on ground or thereabouts. So did well considering, even though he started with that lowish time on ground. So hopefully that keeps rising. But again, there's that worry there where, I think he started on the wing or thereabouts, and then Brody came on as the sub and he was pushed more up forward. So again, that's probably something to factor in, but it's such an unknown as to how these young players are going to be used from week to week. And it probably comes down to their endurance and tank, whether or not they can run out games in the midfield or on the wing even, where that's kind of a requirement. So I think there's that. And then the Port bloke, as you spoke of, I don't know too much about him, but the fact that he's been able to stay in the side and play games ahead of other players, because no one's really holding him out, no one's injured. So probably those bode well for his longevity in the starting 22. So there's a few balls to juggle in the air, but as to which one is the best one and which one you have to drop, could be a gem, but that's the risk that we take. But yeah, for me, probably those two boys, the Swan and the Docker for me. But Liam, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Matt Roberts obviously started as sub. Couple of games, same as Matty Johnson. Obviously, both broke into the 22 last round. Concern for me is just whether they stay there. Dill Williams, again, don't know a heap about him. but looks to have a bit more of, I don't know, somehow some surety around the role just by virtue of the fact that there doesn't seem to be anyone sort of on the injury list holding his spot that he's keeping their spot warm for. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what I'll be doing this week in terms of trades. But those three are sort of the ones that I'll be tossing up between.
Yep. It probably comes down to as well, doesn't it? Like in terms of both Roberts and Johnson are at the higher price point compared to what's his name?
Yep.
Dill.
Williams.
Yeah. So for me, that probably it comes down to who you can afford to bring in. Dill Williams, like as an example, in my case, if I opt for Dill Williams ahead of Johnson, for example, it would give me enough cash to bring in a Took. Whereas if I go for Johnson and go for Roberts, I'm going to fall short by about 3K. And then I will have to opt for someone like a Sinclair, which is probably much of a muchness, but
yeah, it doesn't hurt you too bad.
But yeah, with Dylan Williams, it means that I'm going to have to again probably shift one of the DPP guys like a Rosie, Taranto, Dunks out of my midfield. But then again, I also have Jay-Z and Sheasel that I could switch into defense. So could show up a spot, but it would mean that I'll have to play a rookie on field. So I don't know. It's hard. It's something that people have to weigh up, I think.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the next sort of talking point, which we'd like to pick your brain about, Shorty. And it's with regards to Tom Green. Now, the AFL of their sphincter is tightening when it comes to concussions. And they're rubbing out every bloke left, right, and centre that's tackling and bringing blokes to ground at the moment. So, unfortunately, he has been given, as it stands at the moment, as we record this, a week suspension. Hopefully, for all of our sakes and for the sake of the game, longer term, I think as well. He does get off if they contest it, but if it does stand, and you are an owner of Tom Green, I take it.
Yes, I sure am.
If it does stand, what are your thoughts? I think there are people out there that are thinking of maybe using him as a ticket to someone like an Oliver. First and foremost, he's the prized golden goose, as it were. But what are your thoughts? Like, are you going to keep him if he's only out for a week, or will you use him as a ticket to someone like an Oliver?
Yeah, definitely hold for mine. I guess the last month he hasn't really set the world on fire from a scoring point of view. He's been good without being great, but I've watched a couple of those games and I reckon he's playing well. Like, I reckon he's playing good footy. It hasn't quite replicated itself into 120 pluses all too often, but I'm hoping that if you trade him out, and he might become a slight more point of difference because he's pretty popular. So I feel like I'm going to keep him. I just don't. I know we've got a stack of trades, but gee, I miss the days where we used to weigh up holding guys for even 2 weeks. But you know what I mean? So I just think, yeah, you're probably sitting there, you got 28 trades, but there will be a time where you just wish you didn't slightly sideways Tom Green, who's still averaging 108 at round 16. You know what I mean? So I'm more than happy to hold on to him.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very much the same. Liam, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I'm shocked that 1 point. I mean, it seems low at this stage. Monday. 1.7% of teams have traded him out. 1,818 coaches. Wow. So he's the seventh most traded out player.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah, for me, I'm someone who actually held. I've got Will Day, and it's probably a sprinkle of stubbornness on my part as well, because I only just brought Day in, even though he did make around about 40 to 50K or thereabouts off that game where he got suspended. To me, I'm still I'm an old school super coacher, like back in the day where we had limited trades, and I still try and operate by that mindset, and especially with 1 weeks, it's like non-negotiable, hold them, even if you have to eat a donut, because it always gets to the point, as you mentioned, Shorty, later in the season where you're running out of trades and you get an injury that does hurt you. Like, classic example is Abs Magic. As we know, he's been vocal about the fact that he finished 4th, he was leading all comers, and he had Georgie Hewitt go down with injury for the last 3 to 4 weeks of the season, and he ran out of trades. And if he had a trade up his sleeve, that could have potentially helped win him and hold on to the mantle of overall leader and actually win him SuperCoach. So I always keep that in the back of my mind as well. And I always try and use that as a bit of a reminder for people that even though we've got an extra trade this season, keep in mind that it could come back and bite you on the arse. And with 1 weekers, that's a non-negotiable. Keep him. And yeah, it goes to show that I've got Day and I've held him for a week, and it will be coming on to 2 weeks this week. And just trying to use it as a bit of a point of difference. Keep that in mind. I mean, if the more people are trading out a person, you could use it as a bit of an antipod. People are letting him go. And yeah, go about it that way.
Yeah, I like that, mate. It's I could talk old school SuperCoach for a very long time. I used to love the days where we had, I reckon when I first started, that we had 20 trades. So
yeah,
that was a tactic in itself. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, I used to be, back in the day, I actually started out being an AFL Dream Teamer, and I was big on that and used to follow the Dream Team Talk Boys.
Yeah.
And that was limited trades even then. And then when AFL Dream Team became fantasy and it was virtually unlimited trades, that's when I jumped across to SuperCoach because I had limited trades. And that was kind of the tactic that I loved about it. Whereas now it's virtually just using fantasy, like AFL fantasy, like a bit of the stock market, buy low, sell high type sort of stuff. And at least with this, it's still got that element where you have to be conservative with your trades to an extent. But yeah, I think even so, people should try and have that in mind. I think that take the longer term view of things and don't look at the week to week isolated, view of things. And yeah, because it can come back to bite you. But depending if you're going for overall or head to head, but yeah, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Other discussion point wanted to bring up with you, Shorty, is the prospect of Gawn returning. And we, Liam and myself, we both don't own Grundy, but there were a few that jumped on Grundy as a bit of a playing sort of mid pricer / almost cusp of the primo, playing a part of a cash cow, riding the wave of the cash that Grundy's making, hoping that Gawn was going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. He is coming back within potentially as soon as this weekend, but at least within the next 1 to 2 weeks. And then he's kind of reactivated that sort of thought. Come round 12, he could have that forward ruck DPP eligibility because, as we saw, he's playing predominantly up forward and pinch hitting the ruck to relieve Grundy. Now, for those people that have Grundy, what's your mindset in terms of if you were in that scenario? What would you be doing? Would you be jumping on Gawn, or how would you be going about trying to bring Gawn in? And in your own scenario, like you sort of share the same scenario as both of us, how will you be trying to bring Gawn into your team?
Yeah, it's one to absolutely ponder. And for me, I think with Grundy, if I had him and Gawn was back, it's just one you probably got to just let it unfold, maybe give it a week or two and just see how it looks. I mean, I've been shit scared of picking any of these blokes all year, mate, because I've just had no idea how it's going to work. And we probably have a bit of an idea about it now, but Gawn starts to miss footy and we feel like, how is this dynamic going to work over a decent sample size? So I'm happy to just give it a little bit of time, see how it works, and probably a 1 or 2 weeks, because obviously we know Gawn's price will be really tasty early when he returns with that. I think it was spot on 0. I don't think he scored anything. So there's an opportunity to really get him at a good price. But I'd love to sit down and just watch a Melbourne game or two and just get a feel for it, because I feel like they will differ in their roles even as the season progresses. So it makes me slightly nervous, but they are class players that find a way to score points.
Yeah. And Liam, what are your any thoughts there in regards to trying to bring Gawn in and as well as back to you as well, Shorty. But would it be smart to try and if Marshall doesn't come good? I mean, he had a decent game on the weekend because he played virtually no one in the ruck against Collingwood. But longer term, if he doesn't come on as we all expected him to, as finishing as an R1, R2, would you be willing to sacrifice him for a Gawn?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Sorry, you go, Liam. You go.
No, you go. I actually don't know the answer to that question.
No, I was probably just gonna was gonna place that one in more of a luxury trade. I mean, I've got a lot of time for Marshall. I know he hasn't hit the ground running, but I'm a big fan of him in the sole ruck. I feel like that sort of a trade is a bit luxury style and one that I don't feel like I would pull early, but I think the main consideration might be for Grundy owners at the moment and the effect that Gawn has on him. And then I'm just happy to see it play out and just make an assessment, because I don't have much foresight on it. I sort of sometimes you can have a gut feel, but
Yeah.
I think I need to see this one unfold and make a call, even if it costs me 40, 50K. I'd be happy to just let it unfold in front of me. Yeah. What do you reckon, Liam?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I agree with. I don't know if I'd trade Marshall out. I'd probably have to see him really. I mean, he's still averaging 101.2, so not poor by any means. Obviously, not the 130 or 140 or whatever it is that English is averaging, but still decent enough. I think the concern for me is, does Gawn get managed into being like when he returns? So is he managed into playing? Obviously, knowing that you've got Grundy as your 1-2 punch, I guess, in terms of the ruck. So you're not relying on a sort of a second string ruckman as such. Probably my concern there with bringing Gawn straight in. I would definitely be wanting to wait. But obviously he's got the 0, so you want him to drop in price. But probably, I agree with you. I don't mind paying a little bit extra for him if I have to, by waiting a little bit to get a better sample size and get a better understanding of how they actually are going to work together. I guess from my side, Damon and Shorty as well, what are your thoughts on, if you are a Grundy owner, what do you do when Gawn comes back?
If you're a Grundy owner?
Yeah, you own Grundy, he's your R1 or R2. What are you doing when Gawn comes back?
I will wait until Gawn drops in price, first and foremost. Even if Grundy starts having a dip in form, which I expect him to, like his ceiling should diminish off the back of that.
Yeah.
What's he at the moment? Like in terms of, like he's made 74K. So if you jumped on him, at least he's made you some cash. But I think the amount of money that Gawn's going to bleed compared to Grundy is going to be more in favour of Gawn. So even if you are losing cash with Grundy, much for a muchness, just take it on the chin. But yeah, I think I'll be waiting. I'll just be waiting for him to drop out. And then maybe, like you said, Shorty, and yourself, Liam, as well, just have a bit more time to see how things unfold. How is Gawn going to be managed? If he is managed in game, does he spend more time up forward and less time on the ruck in order to ease him back in? And if it looks like he's going to be going back towards the role that he had, I'd be happy to pull the trigger on it. But aside from that, if he doesn't, then I'll be looking to bring in, use Grundy as a bit of a stepping stone to an English easy way to do it. I mean, he's just having a bloody out of the box start to the year, as you know well and truly. Shorty is an owner, so jealous. So that's pretty much how I'd be treating it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, nicely put, mate. I agree.
Very nice. Well, before we wrap up, Shorty, we didn't ask you from the top, which we should have, remiss of us, but how are you actually traveling so far this season, and what are your sort of plans? How's it all unfolding? Have you had to deal with injuries, suspensions, the like, which no doubt you have, but did you manage to avoid all the ruck carnage, or did English pop up as out of a circumstance of an injury, like if to a Darcy Cameron or whatnot?
Look, I was fortunate, mate, to start those two boys, English and Marshall.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
At the start of the year, I'm a big English fan. I really love him, and thankfully he's really come to fruition this year. So I was able to dodge a fair bit of it there. Overall, I'm sitting, I think it's just inside the top 5K. So I'm really pleased with that. Like, really pleased, because I feel like, there's been some tough moments to negotiate, and I'm pretty happy to be sitting there. The last couple of years, I've had slower starts to the season and been sort of fighting my way back. So I'm happy to be sitting here at the moment. In terms of my trade plans, I feel like I just want to beef that back line up a bit at the moment. I've probably got a bit more exposure from a rookie front on the field. So I just want to probably bring in Sinclair this week, I reckon, and just probably James Sicily lines up pretty nicely the week after.
Yeah.
So I reckon that's kind of how I'm looking at it, and just beef that up back there, and then see how we're tracking in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So far, so not too bad. I'll take it.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice. Yeah, I think I'm very much of the same mindset as well. I think a lot of people started with, as I mentioned in our podcast proper, a bit of a bare cupboard in a sense. Like they started the season in defence with maybe 1 or 2 primos at most. So a lot of people have been relying upon, Wilmot, McKenna, Cowan, a combination of those boys. And yeah, it's kind of looking as though at the moment where if, for example, you didn't have to rely on a McKenna and you had someone like an extra primo in defence, that gives you an extra leg up. And I'm kind of using that as a bit of a encouragement for myself to bolster my defence, because forward line has been the highest scoring all year, thanks to Sheasel, of course, obviously helps there. And then a lot of people started with the big 3 or big 4. Jay-Z is my F4 and Sheasel's F5, and then a rookie F6. But I can probably hold out. I think previous years I've kind of gone along the track of, all right, I'll try and bolster my midfield because that's where a bulk of the points come. But I think there's enough options there, and there's almost too much competition, I think, in my mind as to who's going to be the top 8 midfielders. Like there could be other guys like Sarong, Liam brought up on our podcast proper, where he's almost like a potential breakout option. Brayshaw's kind of dipped a little bit. So, by going early on the tried and tested players in the past in the midfield, later on down the track, you may find that you have maybe missed someone like a Sarong who is an outright top 8 midfielder. So I'm kind of using it as a bit of that's kind of the tactic that I've rolled with as well. But Liam, what about yourself? Just quickly.
Yeah. I'm not decided on trade plans this week. Do want to kind of beef out the back line, though. I think that's where my biggest concern is in terms of rookie scores. But also, I don't know. I don't mind trying to bring someone into the midfield, obviously with Green out this week. Obviously keeping him, but just try to I guess, pad out the midfield because I'll be running with an extra rookie there. In terms of forwards, yeah, I'm feeling confident there. I've got Goulden as my F4, and then Sheasel, who very nice. 431k already, sitting in F5, so not too concerned.
Incredible, yeah. And do you have Cogs as well, Shorty?
I don't have him at the moment,
but
I know he's not traveling amazing, but I'm looking at him thinking I definitely want him in my team 2 to 3 weeks, I feel. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that I had a few questions, people trading him out, but I was like, no, there's no role change. He's a bit not the best ball use or, giving away 50-metre penalties, whatever it might be. But no, I think he'll be back, so he could be at a nice price very soon.
Yeah,
giving away descent type frees, Paul.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very much of the same mindset as well. Like Liam, I don't think you have him either, do you?
No, I don't have him. Definitely one to look at.
Yeah, he was. I was wrestling between him and Sinks, but because my forward line is well set, I think I'll be going for Sinks. I think first and foremost, and then looking at Sicily potentially in a week or two and going from there. But that's pretty much it. Liam, you got any other questions to fire the way of Shorty?
Nothing SuperCoach related, but I thought, would you want to give us a bit of a plug for your channels?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Thanks for having me on too, boys. It's been great. But yeah, obviously, Shorty SuperCoach, and I've got the TikTok running as well under the same name, and occasionally posting a bit on Twitter too lately, which is something I haven't been doing much of before. But yeah, if you want to get around it, feel free. I'll be going live on Wednesday night most weeks. So if you want to throw a few questions live at Shorty, feel free to.
Very nice,
thanks for having me on. Yeah, appreciate it.
Pleasure, mate. And yeah, for anyone tuning in, of course, head across to, all you need to do is go to YouTube, type in Shorty's, I think it's at Shorty's SuperCoach is the actual handle on YouTube that you've got, but search Shorty's SuperCoach, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and check out some of the stuff that he produces. He's not only a knowledgeable super coacher, but he's one of the funniest, laid back, absolute units out there. So great to have you on board. And you get to hear the sort of stuff like more meat in the bone, all that sort of stuff, which I just love.
Yeah,
all those
plenty of stories, mate. Plenty. If we're not talking super coach, we're telling stories.
I love, and then just on that as well, I love how you open some of your episodes with stories. And there was one that I tuned in for, and I think it was maybe a social night or something. Maybe it was a basketball. It was a basketball or footy or something. And you rocked up there with the expectation that there was going to be an absolute piss up, and you arrived and it was like 15-year-old, 13-year-old.
Yeah, it was my tennis breakup. Yeah, me and my mate thought this would be fantastic. New club. We'll just rock up with a few beers and really get to know everyone. Didn't realize the junior breakup was on at the same time, about an hour beforehand. Oh man, I rocked up with like 10 or 15 Canadian clubs and just was like, oh no, this ain't a good look.
Yeah, you have to throw them over your shoulder as you're walking through the front door. Like, who's are they? Someone left some Coronas out the front.
Rocked up looking like I was going to pre-drinks. I was like, oh no.
Well, that's the sort of quality stuff that you get an insight into Shorty's antics in his own life, aside from all the SuperCoach knowledge that you provide. So thanks so much for joining us, Shorty. And we will be jumping across to your channel as well and return the favour. And looking forward to it, mate. So again, check out your channel and we'll catch you on the flip side on your channel at Shorty SuperCoach. So thanks again for joining us, mate.
Good stuff. No worries. Thanks for that, guys.